Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Medeek Wall Plugin. My name is Nathaniel P. Wilkerson, and today I wanted to do something a little different today. I basically have been doing a lot of tutorials for the Wall Plugin, showing different new features and that sort of thing. But today I just wanted to ask the question, or answer the question, I suppose, as to why one would need a wall plugin. And I actually do get asked that, well, quite often actually, by many architects and designers, and saying, "Well, why do I need your wall plugin? I can just do everything in SketchUp by myself with just the native tools." And I guess you can, but I wanted to go ahead and what I would like to do is go ahead and basically show you kind of how I would go about drawing a wall, and just kind of take us through the process of manually drawing a wall, and then at the end of that, just kind of examine, what the issues are with that, and then also get into, what the advantages of having the wall plugin are. So let's just get started with putting a grid down here real quick, and I'm just going to use my little handy dandy grid tool. Again, this is a nice little plugin that I found on SketchUp. I think SketchUp actually makes it, and it works well in pretty much every version of SketchUp that I've used, 2017 through 2022. And you'll notice that I am still using I'm using 2017 right now. I do use it a lot for testing purposes, mostly to just make sure that my plugins remain backward compatible with it, because that's the oldest version that I'm keeping compatibility with. And then, of course, I do a lot of other testing in the latest version of SketchUp, which is 2022. So anyways, grid tool down. So let's go ahead and just get started. I'm going to get started first by just making like what I call a 2x6 bottom plate. So if I just place this here, actually, we can use a line tool, but it's probably just as easy to use the rectangle tool here. And usually what I'll do is I'll just key in my dimensions down here in the little box, and there you go. So go ahead and do that, and then just push pull that, of course. Let's just push pull it. I'm just going to key in like 16 feet, right? And then okay, once I've got my little basic stud unit created, just go ahead and group that up. Okay, so now we've got our first stud. So now I'm just going to take this and essentially copy it a lot, and move it around and do all that sort of thing. So the nice thing is you can use this move tool, just select a point, and hit the I think it's a control key, and boom, I got that. I should have rotated that because I want to create a plate out of it, but that's fine. We can do that right now. Sometimes I have a little trouble with this rotate tool. I guess I use the arrow keys to orient it the way I want it. So there we go. Okay. So we're going to do a single bottom plate. Just start moving this thing around, get in a position, shove it over here, pull it up there. Grab this stud, and let's just pull that up here. Okay. So we're going to do 16 inches on center, and people always say, okay, the first stud, move it over 16. Actually, that's not quite right, because you've got to allow for the, I'll show you what I mean. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's hit shift. Oh, oops, I didn't do that. Actually, it's control, sorry. So we're going to shift that over 16 minus 3/4, so it's 15.25. And then if we measure real quick just to show you, we want to be 16 inches on center, which we are, right? Okay, so there are ways, of course, to make these as components and then duplicate them and all that stuff. I'm not gonna worry about that too much right now. Okay, so obviously these are too high. But let's figure out first where we want our wall. So I'm just going to basically go there, hit the control key, and then bring this guy up. Oh, let's say, let's just do like a 9-foot wall maybe. Okay. And then let's copy that again. And you know, I'm not probably as fast as some of you guys are with SketchUp with the native tools. I'm sure there's people out there that are a lot faster than me, in fact. But I find my way around. Okay, so then we just use the push-pull tool. And of course, I probably should have this first. Let's just grab the end of that. Oh, okay, hop into it. Okay, so now we got the push-pull. I'm not being very efficient here. So I'm just gonna bring this down, get that corner. And let's just do that step again. Okay, so we copy that over. And like I said, 15.25, right? And then if we want to keep doing that, we can just go 16. Oops, hit the shift or control key, sorry. Hit it again, 16. There's a way to I can't remember how now. The problem is I don't even use the, I don't use the native tools enough. I rely too much on my plugins, I guess. So I guess that's maybe the downside of plugins is you, after a while, you're so spoiled you don't have to use the native tools, and you get a little bit out of practice. So what are we doing? 48 inches, I guess. Get those guys over, and then I'm just grabbing 3 at once now, and I'm duplicating over 48 inches. Let's do one more. Okay, so again, here's the issue, of course. If you did 16 inches on center, the last stud, of course, is over too much, so we have to just move that, you know. There we go. Okay, so there's our basic stud wall. I mean, I could group it all together, but I'm not going to worry about that quite yet. But yeah, and then, you know, with regards to materials, of course, you want to get materials and create some materials and color those studs and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and just select a color here. I don't know. I don't want it too dark. Let's call this lumber 1. That'll work. And then we go there. And if we select this, we can start coloring these, right? Or adding the material to them. Again, you can make these into components, and then, you know, you do one, it'll do them all. But the thing is I like components, but there is some issues with using too many components in a file. And the reason is because with components, especially in the newer editions of SketchUp, it creates like a little JPEG of each one, so it kind of makes your model a little heavier, and I've noticed that. Okay, so now what happens if we want to add windows and doors, right? Well, that, of course, that further complicates things, right? And we can do that. And so just to make things really easy on ourselves, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to just double up one of these studs here. A couple of them, actually. So we'll just go like this. And then this one over here. Just hit the copying that. All right. So in this particular case, say we want to make a window opening. You know, the problem with the native tools I find is that, like for instance, I want to cut these studs, right? I want to simply basically cut them. And so what I can do is, you know, there's a couple things you can do here. You can use, you know, if you've got the full version of SketchUp, this is the old 2017, of course, the 2017 make. You can do some fun stuff with the Boolean operations, and then you can subtract out pieces and what have you. But just using the basic push-pull tools, you know, it's a little more involved, right? So we'll do that. Let's just take this guy right here, and we're gonna bring it up, grab it, and just bring him up. Oh, let's say 36 inches. And then let's go ahead and bring this guy up. Let's say 48 inches. And I'm not too concerned about these dimensions. I'm just kind of working my way through this. And so what you can do, I'm going to turn this guy actually into the header. So I'm going to just grab him and push pull him up. What are we at? We're at 1.5 right now. And let's say we want, let's say a 2x12 header. So what is that? 11.25 minus 1.5. Sorry, I'm just running my calculator here to make sure I got everything right. Yeah, 9.75. So let's say 9. Oops. Sorry. 9.75. Okay, so that's a big hefty header in there. And then let's click into this guy. And we have, and then let's do a little push pulling around here. Get him where we want. Oh, wrong face. All right, and we're going to bring him up to this point here. And then same with this thing here. We're going to bring that right there. Okay, so that's our big beefy header, maybe a little too big. That's fine, it does the trick. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Except now we're going to take this seal plate, as I call it, and let's go ahead and do this. So basically I'm just trying to build a wall from scratch with the native tools, and you know, I'm no Speedy Gonzalez when it comes to using SketchUp native tools, but you know, I can, like I said, I can get the basics done. So, and now we want to push pull this guy down to here. Right, and in there. Push pull that guy. The funny thing is you can actually select those faces, even though you can't see it, you can actually select it by just mousing over the right spot, which is kind of nice. Okay, and so now we've got that started. We're going to push pull these trimmers, or jack studs as they're called, down to where they need to be as well. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I'm trying to go as quickly as I can. But as you can see, I can't say I'm really that speedy. But again, there are people that are probably faster than me at this sort of thing. Okay. So there's a basic stud wall. Now you're saying, well, where are the cripples? Well, right, we need to get those. So we're just going to take these guys and we're going to go ahead and copy them. Just select a point here, or actually let's do a point right there as our reference, and then drag them up here. And there we go. And then we're going to do a little more push pulling on this guy, get him where we want him. And same thing with this one. Okay, so we get that and drag that there. Okay, so there's our stud wall. Okay, so now we got ourselves an acceptable framed opening, a window in this case. And so now you ask, well, we got to put the sheathing and everything else on. Yeah, well, that's not very hard. So let's go ahead and get that done. So really quickly now, we're just going to drag out a rectangle here, put some sheeting on, and let's go ahead and 0.4375, which is 7/16 of an inch. And if you actually just click on this guy, triple click I think it is, it's kind of fun, and you can just make that into a group. And I think we actually have some built-in different textures, and the one that I actually use is the OSB texture, and I think I actually use it in my plugin. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now we got ourselves some OSB on that. Now we want to cut a hole. Cutting a hole isn't too hard. Just click into the group, put a little rectangle on this face, and notice we've got that, and then just grab the push-pull tool, push right to the other surface, and bingo, we've got ourselves a hole. Okay. So there's a basic framed wall done with the SketchUp native tools. I don't think I used a single plugin other than just the grid tool, which, you know, you don't have to use that, but I just did that for layout purposes. So I don't know, that took me about 10-15 minutes-ish. It shows 15 minutes. Of course, I was talking my way through it, and I'm not going as quickly as I probably could have if I had been practicing this for a while. So I'm a little out of practice, I'll admit that. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. And then, yeah, I mean, you know, of course, if we want to add, you know, gypsum and cladding on the outside and do other things, actually add the window in, we probably would have pre-built kind of window components that we'd use for that. So we just drag and drop them in from, you know, from wherever, but we wouldn't be drawing those on the fly as often. But the problem with walls, of course, is you know, you don't know how it's going to be built. You're going to have a wall, and you might have a window here, you might have a window over there, you know. So walls are, you know, you really can't pre-build them per se. And then, of course, when you start putting other walls with other walls, well, now that further complicates the matter. So looking at this wall panel, the big problem I see with doing with native tools, I'm going to move this guy out of the way, and I'm going to group this thing together first, of course. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's just group that. So there's my wall. So I can take it and move it and rotate it and do anything I need to it, you know, whatever. The big problem I see, though, with a wall like this is it's basically not parametric. So what happens now if I decide to delete that window? Well, then I got to go back in. I got to rearrange the studs. I got to remove the header. I've got to close off the opening. You know, the list goes on. And then let's say I decide to change the wall height. You know, it's rather painful to have to go back in and start, you know, completely reconfiguring this wall by hand. And that really is, you know, the downside of not having a parametric wall plugin or wall tool. You know, you've probably heard of other you know, drawing applications out there or programs like Chief Architect or you know, Revit. There's a number of them, but you know, and they offer, of course, these tools so that you can draw walls. But the problem with those tools is in my mind, they're too constraining. Yes, they'll draw your walls. They'll let you put windows and doors in. You can, you know, remove windows and doors. You can modify them, but you don't have the freedom of SketchUp, right? You don't have this real beautiful 3D drawing environment that allows you to basically, you know, add in pre-configured components that will, you know, just draw random stuff wherever you might happen to need it. You know, I mean, it's just that it's such an intuitive and friendly environment to work in 3D that, and you know, of course, the native tools are great. You know, the push pull and stuff. I mean, it's just, in my mind, I have yet to find a better 3D drawing environment that can beat SketchUp at this game. So SketchUp has, you know, I think that's where it really makes its power shown, you know. And but the big problem, of course, is the fact that SketchUp in and of itself, without any plugins, is pretty much I would say a fairly bare bones system. I mean, and there's really no parametrics built in. I mean, I know we do have live components and a few other things that we're working on that, but it's without the parametrics, it becomes more labor intensive. So again, I think yes, you can draw walls without plugins, and I just demonstrated that you can, and there's nothing wrong with that wall. It's geometrically accurate. It's everything is lined up and proper. 16 inches on center, 2x6 studs. I mean, it's a good model, but again, it's not parametric. So now let's explore what happens now if we take the wall plugin and do essentially the same thing. So I'm just going to take and click this draw wall tool here with the Medeek Wall extension, And of course, it brings up this menu, and you have the ability to add in all these features and change everything up as you need. So I'm just going to go ahead and change that from an 8-inch wall. Let's just do a 108-inch wall, which is a 9-foot wall. And you'll notice it shows you 9-foot wall height right there in feet and inches. Update on that. So this same wall, we put a 16-inch or 15-inch wall, it was. And in fact, I'm going to stretch another wall here, just perpendicular to it. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So you say, well, okay, great. We've got a wall. It's got cladding. It's got sheathing. Now, if we go ahead and pop a window in there, just leave all the defaults as they are. There's your window. Okay. Let's move this guy out of the way real quick. And let's go ahead and turn off a few layers here. Let's turn off that gypsum. Let's turn off some of our wall framing, or I think it's the casing I want to turn off. Just kind of pull that out of the way for a second. And our wall window. Okay, so notice, I think the first thing that you'll probably notice is that, well, I have the texture turned on. So you don't have to create, with the wall plugin, you're not having to create all these materials, right? It's automatically doing that for you. It's automatically taking care of corners. When you put in a window, it takes care of all your cripple studs. It takes care of everything. You don't have to think about any of that. You just make what you want. And then, of course, if I decide, well, I don't want that window there for whatever reason, click this little thing, and boom, your wall's healed, and you're back to a fresh, clean wall. And this, geometry is really no different from any of this geometry. It's grouped just the same way. It's just that with these walls, there's basically a database essentially behind each wall. And I'm going to show you that. If I have a little plugin here called the Attribute Editor made by Christina Eneroth. And this shows essentially the database or attribute library that is behind this wall, right? So these are all the parameters that make up that wall. And it's able to rebuild and regenerate that wall based on all those parameters. Anyways, I think that goes maybe a little too deep, but the point is with the wall plugin, you have a parametric tool within SketchUp that's similar to like a chief architect, allows you to automatically build these walls, put doors and windows, remove doors and windows, move them around, move walls relative to each other, that sort of thing. And it just saves. The point is it's designed to save you a lot of time. So yes, you can draw a wall natively in SketchUp, but you're going to spend 15 minutes drawing that wall versus literally a matter of 5 to 10 seconds drawing this wall. So if time is an issue for you, then I think the plugins pretty much speak for themselves. Anyways, just wanted to kind of go through that, and basically, I mean, that is my reasoning really for why a wall plugin. The reason is time. If you can save yourself minutes or hours with a wall plugin, then I think there is good reason to use it. So anyways, if you have any questions or comments or thoughts about this whole question that I'm posing, please leave some comments in the YouTube video section, comment section. I'd love to hear kind of feedback on what I'm talking about here. So as always, thank you everybody for supporting me in my plugin development, and we will talk to you later. Thanks.